The sun was starting to set behind the mountains, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink as I walked through the streets of my hometown. The smell of street food mingled with the cool afternoon breeze, and the excitement of the local festival filled the air. It had been years since I returned to this place, and the anticipation of seeing my childhood friends, May and June, pulsed in my heart. I made my way down the main street where colorful stalls lined up, offering typical delicacies, local crafts, and games for the children. The sound of traditional music echoed, and laughter could be heard everywhere. With each step I took, I felt more alive, filled with memories and emotions. "Way!" The sweet voice of May cut through the air. I turned and saw her, with a radiant smile and her black hair shining in the glow of the setting sun. She wore a flowered dress that made her look like a true vision of spring. "May!" I shouted, running toward her. I hugged her tightly, a familiar warmth enveloping us. "It's been so long." "So long indeed," she replied, stepping back a little to look me in the eyes. "Look at you. It seems city life has treated you well." "And you?" I asked, admiring how she had become even more beautiful. "What have you been up to?" "Oh, you know how it is. Working, studying, the same routine. But I miss our adventures together." Before I could respond, a booming laugh echoed around us, and soon I saw Jun approaching with his carefree demeanor and wide smile. "Look who decided to come back!" he exclaimed, opening his arms as if for a grand spectacle. "The great Wei, Jun," I laughed, returning his embrace. "You're still the same clown as always, and you, the same dreamer." He winked. "I hope you brought some interesting stories from the big city." We sat on a bench in the shade of a tree, watching the festival's hustle and bustle. Time seemed to stand still. The connection between us was as strong as in childhood, and memories surfaced like a film in my mind. Playing in the mud, bonfire nights, secrets whispered under the stars. "Do you remember those nights when we tried to tell ghost stories?" I asked, laughing. "Yes," May replied, placing her hand over her heart. "I always got scared and had to sleep with you guys. And I always ended up being the one to tell the stories," Jun added, a mischievous glint in his eyes. "I still remember the day you hid behind the tree and screamed like a ghost. I almost died of fright." I laughed, recalling the scene. "That was just the beginning." He was excited. "You have no idea what I have planned for this festival. A treasure hunt." My eyes sparkled with curiosity. "A game? How does it work?" "It's simple. Each clue will lead you to another, and in the end, there's a special prize. What do you think about joining?" He was beaming at the idea. May and I exchanged glances. "That sounds fun," I said, excited. "Let's go." We agreed to meet later for the game, and the conversation soon flowed naturally again. I was filled with nostalgia, but also curiosity about our lives. What had each of us been doing all this time? How had our experiences shaped who we were now? "And you, Wei, how has life in the city been?" May asked, leaning in a bit to hear me better. I paused for a moment, pondering. "Oh, you know how it is. Working as a graphic designer, it's fun, but sometimes I feel like I'm just going with the flow. I miss the art I used to create, the freedom I had when I was a kid." "You've always been so creative," May said, with an encouraging look. "Don't let that fade away. And you, May, what have you been up to?" I interjected, shifting the focus. She hesitated for a moment as if holding back a secret. "Well, I'm in college for literature, but sometimes I feel like I'm just studying out of obligation. Not because I really love it," Jun chimed in, placing a hand on her shoulder. "You've always loved telling stories, May. Don't forget that." The conversation flowed into the challenges we faced, and soon we began sharing our frustrations, hopes, and dreams. Each of us brought a different baggage, and the connection we had was still there, but now it was more complex, richer. As we talked, an old monk appeared, as if he had emerged from nowhere. His face was marked by time, and his eyes sparkled with a wisdom that only years can bring. He wore a simple robe and carried a wooden staff. Greetings, young ones, he said, his voice soft and deep. The festival is a celebration of life and its stories. But remember, what you carry in your hearts is what truly matters. We fell silent, intrigued. The monk seemed to know more than he was saying, and an aura of mystery surrounded him. What do you mean by that? John asked, stepping closer to the monk. Each of you carries within you the secret of your birth year. It holds hidden meanings that can change the course of your lives. The monk's voice echoed like a deep whisper. I exchanged glances with May and Jun, feeling a mix of excitement and curiosity. What did he mean? How could our birth year be so significant? What do we want to know? May asked, her gaze fixed on the monk. He smiled, as if he knew the answer we were searching for. Come to me during the festival, and I will tell stories about the cycles of life. Each of you has a role to play, a destiny to discover. The idea that our birth years carried hidden meanings fascinated me. What could that mean for us, and how could it change our lives? Let's talk to him later, I suggested, as the monk continued on his way, disappearing into the crowd. Yes, definitely, Jun agreed. I'm curious to know what he has to say. As the festival continued around us, a new energy pulsed within us. The reunion with May and Jun, combined with the unexpected encounter with the monk, made my heart race. It was as if the pieces of a puzzle were starting to fit together, promising an adventure that could change everything. The night was just beginning, and I knew that this gathering would not just be a trip down memory lane, but the start of a journey of self-discovery and revelations that we would explore together. The secret of our birth year awaited us, and with each moment, the anticipation of discovering what fate had in store for us became more palpable. The festival was in full swing, and the aroma of traditional foods wafted through the air, mingling with the sounds of laughter and music. As I watched the crowd's movement, a feeling of restlessness grew inside me. Born in the year of the dragon, I had always been taught that it symbolized courage and strength. However, I felt that courage was lacking, especially regarding my work. I looked at May and Jun, who were excited, chatting and laughing, and nostalgia enveloped me. Life had taken us down different paths, but at that moment the connection we had always shared seemed to resonate stronger than the distance that had separated us. Wade, do you remember when the three of us used to draw dragons in the sand? May asked, her eyes shining with the memory. Of course. We would spend hours drawing, dreaming of being famous artists, I replied, trying to hide the frustration I felt for having abandoned that dream. But now, I'm stuck in a job that doesn't inspire me. Jun looked at me with a worried expression. You can still go back to making art, Wei. What's stopping you? Maybe I'm afraid, I confessed. Afraid of failing, of not being good enough. Looking at you both, I realize I took the safe path, but that's not what I really want. Hey, you're a dragon, Wei. Dragons aren't afraid to soar high, Jun exclaimed, making exaggerated gestures that drew laughter from May. Even so, his words echoed within me. As the music vibrated around us, the old monk we had met earlier appeared again, his serene and wise presence seeming to illuminate the atmosphere. He approached us, and the crowd around seemed to dissipate as if time had stopped. Ah, young friends, you are reflecting on your destinies, aren't you? He said, his voice soft as a breeze. Each of you carries within you the power to shape your own path. But how can we discover what we really want? I feel lost, May said, her eyes filled with doubt. You were born in the year of the snake, weren't you? The snake is clever, but it can also be cautious when opening up to others. What prevents you from trusting? He asked, looking directly into her eyes. May hesitated, bit her lip, and finally replied, I've always had trouble trusting people. I've been hurt before, and that makes me hesitate to commit to a relationship. The monk nodded. It's natural to fear vulnerability, but know that closing yourself off can lead to loneliness. Trust is an act of courage, just as art is for Wei. What you seek, perhaps, is the courage to open up. Jun, who had been silent until then, finally spoke. And what about me? Born in the year of the monkey, I'm always the jokester. But sometimes I wonder if that prevents me from being taken seriously. My irresponsibility is affecting my friendships and my work. Yes, Jun, the monkey is fun and creative, but you must also learn to balance lightness with responsibility. You have the ability to make others laugh, but you also need to find the right moment to be serious and firm. The challenge lies in knowing when to use each facet of your personality, the monk replied with a gentle smile. Those words struck a sensitive chord within me. What did I truly desire? What was stopping me from pursuing my dream of being an artist? I was so consumed by routine that I had forgotten the passion that once drove me. The festival continued around us, but all I could see was the image of my teenage self, creating vibrant drawings and dreaming of showcasing my art. They say the year of the dragon brings greatness, but what if I don't know how to seize it? What if I'm not as brave as I should be? I questioned, insecurity showing in my voice. Courage is not the absence of fear, but the willingness to face it, the monk replied, placing his hand on my shoulder. You must seek within yourself, like a dragon rising to great heights. What is holding you back? I don't know if I still have the talent I had as a child. What if I can't do it? My voice trembled. Perhaps the answer lies in allowing yourself to try again, Wei. Art is not just about being the best, but about expressing what you feel, the monk said, and his words resonated deeply within me. The festival went on, but a new light seemed to shine in my soul. I looked at Mei and Jun, who also appeared immersed in their reflections. The connection we had always shared was deepening, and I realized that together we could face our fears. Let's make a pact, I suggested, breaking the silence. How about we support each other on our journeys? Mei, you can allow yourself to trust. Jun, you can work on your responsibility, and I can go back to creating art. I would love that, Mei exclaimed, her face lighting up with a smile. And I promise I will try to open up more, and I will strive to be more responsible. I don't want my irresponsibility to affect the people I love, Jun added sincerely. The monk observed with a satisfied smile, and I felt that somehow our lives were about to transform. That festival, which started as a simple gathering, became a milestone in our personal journeys. Destiny was calling us, and it was up to us to answer. As the music danced around us and the lights shone brightly, a new determination took hold of me. I didn't know what the future held, but I was ready to face it. And more importantly, I was ready to be the artist I had always dreamed of being. The dragon within me was beginning to awaken, and now, more than ever, I knew it was time to fly. The night was cool, and the colorful paper lanterns swayed gently in the wind, illuminating the path that led to the old monk's small house. Mei Wei and Jun walked together, filled with anticipation and a bit of anxiety. What would they discover about themselves? What did their birth years truly mean? These questions echoed in their minds as they approached the door. Do you think he really knows all this? Jun broke the silence, his tone a mix of skepticism and curiosity. I hope so, Mei replied, looking down as she pondered her own insecurities. I just want to understand why I feel so lost sometimes. Wei, who was walking ahead, turned to his friends. I feel like there's something deeper here. It can't just be about our birth years. There must be something that connects all of this to our lives. The door of the monk's house opened slowly, revealing a cozy interior filled with cushions and incense that filled the air with an earthy, sweet aroma. The monk, an elderly man with a serene smile, awaited them. Welcome, young ones. What brings you back to me? His voice was gentle, as if each word was carefully chosen. We want to understand more about our birth years, Wei began, his voice trembling slightly. What does this really mean for us? The monk nodded, gesturing for them to sit on cushions around him. Ah, the birth years. They are like the roots of a tree. They can influence growth, but they do not determine the final destiny. Each of you carries a gift and a challenge. May stared intently at the monk, curiosity growing within her. But how can we discover what this means? I feel stuck, unable to move forward. You must look within, May, the monk replied, his eyes shining with wisdom. The answers you seek are hidden in your choices. What you love, what you fear, all of this shapes your life. The year of the snake brings wisdom, but also the challenge of trust. You need to learn to trust, not just others, but yourself. Jun frowned, not completely satisfied. And what about my year? The monkey is a symbol of fun, but I feel like I'm losing myself. I'm losing friends and opportunities. You are a free spirit, Jun. The monkey brings joy, but also irresponsibility. The challenge is to find balance. Your playfulness should not overshadow your ability to commit to what truly matters, the monk said, his deep gaze fixed on Jun. That makes sense, Jun murmured, thoughtful. But how can we change this? The monk leaned forward, his expression becoming more intense. Change begins with reflection. What brings you joy? What do you fear? What do you love? These questions are the key to unlocking what is within you. Wei took a deep breath and decided to share his insecurities. I was born in the year of the dragon, and I've always heard that this means courage and strength. But in reality, I'm feeling stagnant in my job. I feel like I'm just going through the motions. What does this mean for me? The monk smiled gently. Ah, the dragon is indeed a symbol of power and ambition. However, the true challenge is understanding how to manifest that strength in your life. What do you truly wish to do? What makes your heart sing? Wei hesitated, recalling his childhood dreams of always wanting to be an artist. I don't know. I think I've left that part of me behind. What do you do when your dreams seem so distant? Dreams do not disappear. They simply await your rediscovery, the monk replied, his voice soft as balm. Sometimes it takes courage to allow yourself to dream again. The dragon within you needs to awaken. What will you choose to do with that? May, who had been listening attentively, decided to open up. What if my fears stop me from trying? What if I fail? Failing is part of the process, the monk said, as if he had been expecting that question. Life is full of risks, and each choice carries the possibility of error. But remember, it is in error that you learn. Trust is built through experience, not perfection. Jun nodded, feeling that the conversation was deepening. So, if we are honest with ourselves, can we start to change our lives? Exactly, Jun. Honesty with yourself is the first step to transformation. Help one another, be each other's support. Promise that no matter the difficulties you face, you will be together on this journey. The atmosphere in the room shifted. There was a sense of camaraderie and determination. Eyes met, and a new light seemed to shine in the expressions of Mei, Wei, and Jun. Let's make this promise, Mei suggested, her voice firm. We promise to support each other and remind ourselves of what we truly want. No matter how hard it gets, we are in this together. Wei smiled, feeling a growing warmth inside him. Yes, let's discover our true destinies and not let our fears hold us back. Jun, always the jokester, made an exaggerated face. And if we need a little push, we can count on the dragon, the snake, and the monkey to help us reach for the stars. Everyone laughed, and the monk observed with a satisfied smile. He knew something special was forming there, an alliance of friendship, a promise that could change the course of their lives. After the conversation, the friends bid farewell to the monk, but not before he reminded them of the importance of reflection. Take with you the questions I asked. Come back whenever you need guidance. I am always here, but true wisdom lies within you. As they walked back to the festival, the sky was now filled with stars. The energy around them was palpable, and a new determination pulsed in their hearts. They knew the journey would be long, but together they were ready to face any challenge that came their way. With the promise made and the monks' wisdom echoing in their minds, they felt stronger than ever. The gentle morning breeze still carried the fresh scent of the festival flowers, while I, Wei, looked at my makeshift studio in the backyard of my home. The paints were arranged on an old wooden table, and around me the blank sheets of paper stared back at me, challenging me to take the first step. The decision to leave my lifeless office job still echoed in my mind, but the promise I made to myself and to my friends, May and John, to pursue my true passion pushed me forward. I remember the old monk's words. The dragon is brave and fearless, but can also be impulsive. Hearing that ignited a flame within me. It was time to be the dragon I had always dreamed of being. With a deep breath, I picked up my brush and dipped it into the vibrant red paint. Wei, are you there? May's voice cut through the silence, and soon she appeared at the entrance of the backyard with a radiant smile. I am. Come see what I'm doing, I replied, trying to hide the anxiety pulsing inside me. May approached, looking curiously at the colors that were beginning to come alive on the paper. Wow, you really dove into the art, didn't you? She said, admiring the brushstrokes. It's beautiful. Thank you, I responded, feeling warmth in my cheeks. I want this to represent how I feel right now, as if I'm finally breaking free. That's amazing. You've always had a gift for this, Wei. May smiled, and I realized she was happy for me. And you? How are things going? I asked, quickly changing the subject to avoid her noticing how insecure I felt. She hesitated for a moment, her eyes lost in thought. I'm trying to open up more. Remember what we talked about love? I'm starting to explore that. Really? That's great, May, I exclaimed, excited. Who's the lucky one? Oh, you know, a childhood friend. He's in town for the festival and we're getting to know each other better, she said, a blush rising in her cheeks. How cool! I knew you could do it. It's going to be a new adventure for you. May looked at me with a sparkle in her eyes. And you, Wei, how do you feel about your art? I'm more free, I guess. It's like I'm lifting a weight off my shoulders. I took a deep breath and added, but it's still scary. What's scary? She asked, tilting her head as if she wanted to understand me completely. The fear of not being good enough, that no one cares about what I create. I confessed, and the weight of vulnerability settled between us. May moved closer, placing her hand on my arm. Wei, you are good. And more importantly, you are being true to yourself. That's more than many people can do. Those words resonated within me, and a wave of gratitude washed over me. Thank you, May. I needed to hear that. As we talked, a thought arose in my mind. Art was not just a form of expression, but a path to self-discovery. Just as May was allowing herself to feel love, I was also allowing myself to feel freedom through painting. After a while, Jun appeared, with a smile that lit up his mischievous face. Hello, artists. What are you two up to? He asked with a wink. Wei is diving into art, and I'm trying to, well, open up to love, May replied with a shy smile. Jun let out a laugh and looked at me. That's amazing, Wei. A dragon and a snake creating art and love. What more could we want? And you, Jun, what's good with you? I asked, curious. He paused, his smile fading a bit. Actually, I'm trying to figure that out, he said, a bit hesitantly. I realize that my irresponsibility is pushing away the people who matter to me. What do you mean by that? May asked, leaning in towards him. Well, I've always been the clown, the one who makes everyone laugh, but sometimes that hides the fact that I'm just avoiding growing up, Jun explained, and the sincerity in his voice surprised me. And are you ready to change that? I asked, admiring his courage to be honest. Yes, I want to. I'm thinking about getting involved in a community project, helping the youth in the village find their passions, just like we're doing now. May and I exchanged excited glances. That's a wonderful idea, Jun, May exclaimed. You've always had that potential. Thank you, guys, he said, smiling again, but now with a different spark in his eyes. I want to do something meaningful, you know. I feel I need to mature and be an example, not a fool. And that's exactly what the monkey should do, right? I said, laughing. Being clever doesn't mean being irresponsible. Exactly, Jun replied, clapping his hands. I'm ready to embrace that. After a moment of silence, as each of us reflected on our journeys, May broke the ice. How about we do something together? An art exhibition where Wei showcases his works, and Jun can talk about his community project, she suggested, her voice filled with enthusiasm. That would be amazing, I said, my heart racing at the idea. And I could help organize it, Jun added, already bursting with energy. Then it's decided, I declared, feeling excitement swell in my chest. The three of us together as always. The idea of uniting our passions and purposes filled me with hope. I knew that despite the challenges each of us faced, we were ready to take the next step in our lives. We left the backyard, each filled with a new purpose. The festival was still happening, and the lights danced under the night sky, reflecting the joy that was growing within us. As we walked together, talking about our plans and dreams, I felt that the connection we had always shared in childhood was strengthening once again. In that moment, I realized that the journey of self-discovery was not just about finding what moves us, but also about having people by our side who believe in us and encourage us to embrace our true selves. As I looked at May and Jun, I understood that courage was present in each of us, and that just like the dragon, the snake, and the monkey, together we could face any challenge life threw our way. The gentle breeze of the evening wrapped around the village like a warm cloak, and the festival lights twinkled in vibrant hues, reflecting the joy and anticipation that filled the air. The three of us, Wei, May, and Jun, found ourselves under one of the brightest lanterns, still immersed in the stories we had shared about our recent achievements. Laughter and emotion were palpable as we celebrated the paths each of us had taken. I can't believe you actually quit your job, Wei, May exclaimed, her eyes shining with admiration. How was that decision? I sat on a wooden stool, watching the activity around us, children running and old men playing dominoes. The courage I'd found to change my life still felt like a dream. I took a deep breath, recalling the sleepless nights, the fears that almost paralyzed me. It was hard, to be honest. I spent nights thinking about what I really wanted to do. But when I started painting, everything changed. I felt free, as if I was finally expressing who I truly am. I replied, a smile breaking on my face. Jun, who seemed more serious than usual, looked at me with an understanding expression. He had always been the jokester of the group, but now there was a new depth in his gaze. Wei, that's amazing. I always knew you had the heart of an artist. He paused, the memory of our childhood echoing in his mind. Remember when we would draw in the sand with sticks? How could I forget? I laughed, recalling our carefree childhood. I never thought that kid who drew dragons in the sand would become a true artist. The conversation flowed naturally, and soon May shared her own story. The love she had found made her shine like never before. She spoke about the insecurities she had faced, the hesitation to open up to new experiences, and how, in the end, she decided to take the plunge. The way her face lit up when talking about it was contagious. It was a journey, you know. I realized I needed to put fear aside, and when I did that, I discovered that love can be a powerful force. She looked at us, her gaze full of hope. It's not just about finding someone. It's about finding yourself. Jun nodded, already immersed in his own thoughts. His transformation was also remarkable. After months of irresponsibility, he had committed to making a difference in the lives of the village's youth. His passion for the community project he had embraced was palpable. I believe that for a long time, I was just making jokes and avoiding responsibilities. But when I started working with the youth, I realized I could be a role model for them. He looked at us, pride in his tone. It's incredible how by helping others, I end up helping myself too. The conversation was so engaging that we hardly noticed the time passing. The music of the festival and the laughter around us became a backdrop to our deep reflections. However, something within me began to feel that there was still more to be revealed. That's when the old monk, who had taught us so much about our birth years, appeared again among the festival lights. His presence was always impactful, as if he brought with him an ancestral wisdom that transcended time. He walked slowly towards us, his gaze deep and serene. "My young friends, what a joy to see your souls shining with new experiences," he began, and his words seemed to resonate in the atmosphere. Life is a continuous cycle of learnings and choices. I looked at May and June and saw that their expressions were curious. The monk continued, his voice sounding like a distant echo, yet close. "Always remember, the birth years you carry are not just numbers. They represent challenges and opportunities, but they are also reflections of your own choices. What you decide to do with that is what truly matters." "You mean to say that our lives are not defined solely by our birth years?" I asked, feeling a wave of understanding. "Exactly, Wei." He smiled, his expression full of compassion. "Each of you is the architect of your destiny. The challenges you faced are not obstacles, but rather opportunities to learn and grow." Jun, with his usual playful gaze, was now profoundly serious. "So, the difficulties I went through weren't just mistakes. They were lessons." The monk nodded. "We need to learn to look at what challenges us from a new perspective. Every choice you make, every step you take, is an opportunity to create something new and beautiful." May took a deep breath, as if absorbing every word. "So, everything we've done, the decisions we made and the difficulties we faced brought us to this moment, right?" "Exactly, my young one," said the monk, his eyes shining with wisdom. "True wisdom lies in learning from the past and opening up to the future. What you are experiencing now is the result of what you chose to do back then." A contemplative silence enveloped us. I looked at May and June, and I could see understanding beginning to emerge on their faces. The weight of our experiences started to dissipate, giving way to a new understanding. "So, does that mean we are exactly where we need to be?" I asked, trying to piece everything together. "That's right." The monk smiled again, as if pleased with our reflections. "Each of you has a role to play, and every step you take, no matter how small, contributes to your growth. Life is like a river. You cannot control its currents, but you can choose how to navigate." As the festival continued, with laughter and music in the background, we felt that something had changed within us. The weight of expectations lifted, and the lightness of understanding began to take its place. Each of us had faced challenges, but now we were ready to embrace the future with a new outlook. Regardless of our birth years and the paths we took, we knew we were together on this journey. And looking up at the starry sky, I realized that the stars were not just points of light, but also our dreams, ready to be fulfilled. And so, with our hearts full of hope and love, we moved forward together, prepared for whatever came next. The sun began to set, painting the sky in shades of orange and purple, as I, Wei, sat next to May and Jun in a quiet corner of the festival. The lively music echoed around us, but there was a contemplative silence among the three of us, as if each person was immersed in their own thoughts. "Did you think about what the monk said?" I asked. breaking the silence. May looked at me, her gaze reflecting the soft light of dusk. Yes, I'm starting to understand that perhaps what we are living now has deeper roots. She hesitated, as if weighing her words. It's as if we are trapped in cycles that we don't fully comprehend. Jun, who was standing, nodded, his expression a mix of confusion and curiosity. What do you mean by that? He asked. How can our birth years be linked to past lives? I leaned forward, excitement growing within me. The monk mentioned that our destinies are not just results of our choices in this life, but also of experiences we've had in others. This makes me think about how the decisions we make now can indeed shape not only our future, but also influence our future lives. That's intense, Jun said, biting his lower lip. So you're saying that if I continue to be irresponsible, it could affect me in a next life or something like that? May sighed, her gaze lost on the horizon. I'm not sure that's exactly how it works, but it makes sense. If you don't learn to deal with your flaws, you might end up repeating the same mistakes. She looked at me, and I noticed a sadness in her eyes. For me, the difficulty in trusting others might come from something deeper. Perhaps in another life I was betrayed in a way that still resonates within me. Silence returned, now laden with unspoken meanings. The monk's revelation had left us perplexed, and each of us was trying to connect the dots. So what are we going to do with this? I asked, trying to bring the conversation back to the present. We need to understand this, not just for ourselves, but also for our future lives. Jun sat down again, his expression more serious. What if we really reflected on our past lives? What we learned and how it manifests now? I've always been the joker, but maybe I should ask myself, why do I avoid responsibility? May nodded, her gaze becoming determined. And me, how can I open my heart if I carry fears from another era? Maybe I need to allow myself to trust more, not just others, but also myself. The conversation continued, and with every word, it felt like we were uncovering layers of ourselves. The festival around us seemed distant, as if we were in our own bubble of self-discovery. What do you think the monk wants us to do with this information? I asked, restless. Maybe he wants us to make peace with our past, May suggested, her gaze fixed on the ground, so that we can live fully in the present. And what does that mean? Jun questioned, frowning. It means we need to confront our traumas, I said, my voice heavy with emotion. We can't let past experiences define us, but rather serve as lessons. Each of us has the ability to change our destiny. Jun laughed lightly, but there was an undertone of seriousness in his voice. Look, I'm a monkey, right? I've always played with life, but maybe I have to start being more reflective. I can't just keep skimming the surface. May smiled, her expression softening. Wu-Dan, that's it. We need to support each other. If each of us works on our personal issues, maybe we can help each other overcome these challenges. The idea lingered in the air, like a silent promise. What if we made a pact? I suggested. A commitment to support each other and confront our fears and insecurities. May's eyes sparkled, and Jun nodded vigorously. That sounds good, May said, her voice firm. We should meet regularly to discuss our progress and challenges. And if someone strays from the path, the others will help bring them back, I added, feeling the excitement grow. We are stronger together. As we spoke, the sky gradually darkened and the stars began to appear one by one. The festival still vibrated around us, but we were in a different space, surrounded by an energy of renewal and hope. So, when do we start? Jun asked, his tone light, but his eyes reflecting the seriousness of what we were about to undertake. Let's meet tomorrow, I suggested. A cafe, perhaps. A quiet place where we can talk without distractions. May agreed, her eyes shining with determination. Yes, and we should bring something that represents what we are facing. A symbol, something to remind us of our journey. It could be a challenge then, Jun said, smiling. Let's choose something that represents not only our difficulties, but also our desire to overcome them. The idea of a symbol brought a new level of commitment to our journey. I looked at my friends and realized that, despite the fears and uncertainties that haunted us, we were ready to face whatever came our way. Let's meet tomorrow then. I'm eager to see what each of us will bring. My voice was a whisper, but it held the strength of a new beginning. As we stood up, the music around us seemed more vibrant, as if celebrating our decision. The festival continued, but we knew we were about to embark on a much deeper journey. As I walked home that night, a feeling of hope grew within me. The monk had opened a door that had remained closed until then, and now, with the company of May and June, I was ready to explore the secrets waiting for us in the shadows of our past lives. This story shows us the importance of the bonds we build throughout life, and how, even after years of separation, genuine connections can guide us on journeys of self-discovery. The friends May, June, and Wei represent parts of us that we often neglect. The fear of failure, the difficulty of trusting, and the tendency to play with life without commitment. The encounter with the wise monk brings forth a powerful message. Our challenges are not obstacles, but opportunities for growth. True transformation begins when we look within ourselves and accept our fears and insecurities. This story invites us to reflect on how we deal with our own life cycles. What still holds us back? What can we change to free ourselves from old ties? Perhaps, like the characters, we can find the courage to face our difficulties and follow the path of transformation. If you enjoyed this story, subscribe to the channel and leave your comment sharing what impacted you the most. What lesson did you take from this story? Let's continue this journey together and get ready, because in the next videos, you will be surprised by other deep and inspiring stories. Until the next video.